Hey everybody, this is Cynthia Reed with Ken and Cynthia Reed in Muncie, Indiana. And the towel I just held up was a towel that we had. I call it our prayer towel. Agent of Change, YTB National Convention 2012. And the one thing that I think is really important for us all to take away from that, those of you who were there, is that we have an ability to take a huge market shift and literally change people's lives for the better, regardless of what election results turn out to be in about another week or so. The date is October 29th, 2012. And so if you see this video a little later, hopefully the stories and the Bible verses that I read will stick with you regardless of what happens. But I think that as people, as Christians, as people of faith, we have an obligation to know what the Word says about people and about life. And I'm going to go Old Testament and New Testament. But Isaiah chapter 9, verse 16 talks about those who guide the people mislead them, and those who are guided are led astray. In Matthew chapter 23, verse 24, in the New Living Translation, it says, blind guides strain your water, you blind guides. The Bible actually puts an exclamation point there, so let me read it the way it was written. Blind guides, you strain your water so you won't accidentally swallow a gnat, but you swallow a camel. And it talked about the people in power, the religious right at the time, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, those people who felt that they had the Jewish law right in their palm of their hand, and everyone else wasn't good enough. Well, when you look at the way things are these days with people and policies and folks wondering, am I going to get to keep this? Am I going to be taxed more, taxed less? Will there be jobs? Will there be opportunities for people? When you look at what we have in front of us right now with the two electoral candidates, Mr. Romney and President Obama, you have to think not Democratic and not Republican and not independent. You have to think right and wrong. And the reason that I use this verse in Matthew is that the Pharisees and Sadducees, the religious right of that day, would put on a big show about, oh, we're doing this holy day and we're tithing even the tiniest things. They tithe things from their herb garden. That's why in the book of Matthew that I just read from, talks about them tithing mint and dill and cumin. They were so particular about making sure that folks knew they were just exact to the point. But yet the camel part comes in, straining gnats but swallowing camels. The camels being issues where the Bible mentions of faith and of hope and of fairness. In fact, specifically, get my notes out again, they basically mistreated poor people. They mistreated poor people. And, you know, when it comes down to justice and mercy and faith, you think about all the people that died. They got bitten by dogs, beaten, all kinds of horrible things for us to have the right to fairness and justice. Think about that before you go to the polls. I personally know several people who are going to vote because it's a party name. I know people who are not going to vote because they say it has nothing to do with them, that folks will do whatever it is that they choose to do. Well, that may be right, but you know something? We are also obligated as Christians, as people who want to be fair. Whether you're a Christian or not, fairness is the bottom line. And I want to just talk about some people here in a magazine that I picked up. Actually, my husband picked it up, Solidarity, the election issue. Obama Biden vote November 6th. And there's a very brief letter I want to read in here. And I'm going to go ahead, since I am over this age, I'm going to target this to 55 and over. So all my AARP people, hey, this is a very brief letter by a man named Bob Stevenson. I should have had some water before I read this. But he's a UAW, United Auto Worker, Local 325 retiree of O'Fallon, Missouri. And Bob says, wow, this is powerful. Mr. President, he actually wrote this letter to President Obama on September 21st, 2012. And he says, as a wrap up, Mr. President, this letter is intended to be a campaign aid to you. Let me start by saying I am a firm supporter of you and your policies and a lifelong Democrat and UAW member. I have many ideas to aid you, but this is urgent. Polls of seniors over 55 in Florida and other states show they support Romney by vast majorities over you. This flies in the face of common sense, since your policies are much better for seniors. Why then do they take this position? Because they are confident Romney will only cut Medicare and Social Security for those under age 55. They feel safe. Your campaign should shift its message to convince these seniors that once the benefits are cut for those under 55, those in that disenfranchised age group will be against the old Medicare system since they are no longer part of it. Let me read that again. Those people who are planning to vote for Governor Romney. He says, Mr. Stevenson, that the Obama campaign should shift its message to convince the seniors who are going to be voting for Romney that once the benefits are cut for those under 55, those in that disenfranchised age group will be against the old Medicare system. I want to pause right there for a moment just to make you think about something, because it certainly made me think. My parents, your parents, those that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. My husband is in his 60s. He'd be under that old Medicare system. But look what's going to happen down the road. And Bob says that the people who are under 55 won't want to contribute to it. They represent a huge part of the voting public. And it says they will not want to contribute to it down the road when Medicare or Social Security need additional funding. They won't support it. To their dismay, those over 55 have the political clout. We're actually in the majority. But they'll no longer have it once everyone. Let me back up, because I get a little emotional about this. I think about people who told me stories about their Medicare and how hard they had to fight for it and watching it just disappear. Okay, sticking to the script. To their dismay, here's the article I'm reading in case you wonder. To their dismay, those over 55 in the old Medicare group will now be in the minority and no longer have the political clout they once had when everyone was in the system. It's a divide and conquer policy like they used to break unions. The private sector first, and then the public unions. When the Republicans want to cut Medicare in the future, it will be much easier for them because the majority of voters will be in the younger group. This is the message you must send to get the support of those over 55. We will not be safe. Again, that was from Bob Stevenson, UAW Local 325, retiree from O'Fallon, Missouri. I want to really thank Bob for that. I want to thank my father-in-law, who is 90, for lending us his magazine. Actually, he had 2 copies and he gave us this one. But you know what? Let's just remember and I have to read this about Massachusetts resident recalls Romney as governor. There it is right there. It says, as a Massachusetts resident, here's what I remember most about Governor Mitt Romney. He had no interest in improving the state's education system and more interest in cutting it. We had high unemployment and more they had high unemployment. Since they have high unemployment, had it. He didn't mix well with the average person and seemed to care only for the wealthy. He didn't mix well with the average person. He was not a likable person. Here are my latest thoughts on the Romney-Ryan ticket. It's obvious that Romney-Ryan don't have sufficient ability to lead the country. A true leader faces all problems and issues and tries to resolve them. The American people should realize the Republican way is not the way to go. President Obama has faced our country's problems without hesitation and without making excuses. Remember this on November 6th. And then I do have to read this one from Indiana, from Heltonville. There's a lot of towns in Indiana I didn't know about. Heltonville, Indiana, by Vicki Sari. Sari with 2 A's. Obstructionist Congress, still an unlikable bunch. Think of this when you put your state representatives and governor in office, when we vote to do that. Vicki says, my husband retired from Ford Motor Company in Walton Hills, Ohio. I'm a widow and UAW Local 420 member. After the last election, when Republicans were high on their mandate against President Obama, I heard someone in Congress say, we can't let him win. The statement was quickly stifled and never heard again. But I can't help wonder why. During the first presidential debate on October 3rd, when Romney was bragging about his bipartisan work in Massachusetts to create a health care plan, he may have had a Democratic majority to work with. You work with what you got, right? But he sure wasn't confronted with an obstructionist, let me spell that so you can look it up in the dictionary, obstructionist, an obstructionist Congress that pledged to guarantee his failure. The more I hear from the Republican Party, the less I like them. And that was from Vicki Sari, Sari, UAW Local 420 retiree, Heltonville, Indiana. So there's my Indiana people, our Missouri people, and the Massachusetts. There are several others. Again, if you want to get a copy of this magazine, find a UAW worker who's retired. I know they helped put me through college, UAW people. My grandfather, my dad, uncles, aunts, cousins. We're all getting older, whether we like it or not. But what is going to be facing us, especially with a lot of unanswered questions on the Romney-Ryan end. So that's all I wanted to say. This magazine is November, December. There it is. Okay. You may have it in your local library. But more important than anything, it's a magazine for UAW members and their families. Vote November 6th. Getting ready to do our vote here in a little bit. Talk to y'all later. God bless. To all my Republican friends, think right and wrong. Bible verses, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 16. Those who guide this people mislead them, and those who are guided are led astray. And Matthew 23, verse 24, the New Living Translation. Blind guides. You strain your water so you won't accidentally swallow a gnat, but you swallow a camel. Kenny and Cynthia Reed, Muncie, Indiana. God bless you, and God bless America. Bye.